it is Sal here, a very warm welcome back to my channel. So, should I get DELINA or DELINA Exclusive, I hear you cry? Well, you have come to the right place. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to go through both of these fragrances, DELINA Exclusive and the original DELINA. What I'm also going to be doing is I have created 2 fragrance mood boards. So one of them is basically fragrances which, if you like those, I think you would like DELINA, and the other mood board is a group of fragrances which, if you like those, then I think it's more likely that you would like DELINA Exclusive. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to try and make this video as in-depth as I possibly can, because I know it's like a dilemma. It's not always easy to get samples of these fragrances. They're both stunning, and like, I was there, you know, I was having the same dilemma. I didn't know which one to get. I knew I wanted one because the bottles, I mean, come on, the bottles are everything. So I really hope that you find this video helpful. If you enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you love fragrance videos in general, then remember to subscribe to my channel, because I do make new videos every week all about perfume. And let's get started. So first of all, what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to briefly describe each one of these fragrances, DELINA and DELINA Exclusive, and then after that I will explain the mood board idea that I had, and hopefully that will be able to guide you even further. So first of all, DELINA, the really popular, much hyped fragrance that everybody is talking about, everybody knows about this one. It is much loved, and it is a beautiful fragrance. So this one is a very kind of bright, juicy rose fragrance. It's very, very piercing, very effervescent, very almost bubbly, in the same way that if you imagine a glass of champagne or a fizzy like glass of rosé would probably be a little bit more accurate. The funny thing about this one though, the original DELINA, is although it is a rose fragrance, it's not what I would have expected from a rose fragrance. To me, this is almost more in the realm of like a fruity floral, a very bright, youthful, fun-loving and girly fruity floral, more than just a rose fragrance, if you know what I mean. Because sometimes when I think of a rose, I think of a slightly more mature fragrances. I think of something a bit more not as youthful as this one feels, if that makes sense. And I think the reason for that is basically they have like a very prominent rhubarb note in here, and I think that basically makes it, without the rhubarb note it wouldn't be DELINA. Like, that is really quite a prominent factor in this fragrance. It gives it a lot of that brightness for sure. It gives it a lot of that slightly sourness, but in a sweet way. It's like sour in the way that you would have, in the same way that you know how you would get a sour cherry. So it's sour in a good way, if you know what I mean, basically. It's not sour in a bad way, it's just sour because that rhubarb note is so kind of sharp and tangy, and it really gives it a lot of that accent. Like, it really provides a lot of that texture, like that signature DELINA feel. DELINA to me is a pink rose. It's a very girly, sweet, youthful, dewy and juicy pink rose fragrance with like fruity nuances and the rhubarb. There are other notes in this fragrance. There's like nutmeg in here and things like that, so spices I suppose, but I don't really get much of that. But what I think that might do is just give it the richness, because this is quite obviously a good quality fragrance. It's not like a watery fruity floral. It's very rich and it's very, very long lasting, and perhaps that kind of comes from the nutmeg. So yeah, it is primarily, if we're just basically describing the main things that I get from this, it's mainly the rhubarb and the rose, and sweetness. Like, it's very juicy to me, it's very bright, fizzy, bubbly, all of those kind of things. So that's a summary of the original DELINA. Now if I just basically describe my DELINA Exclusive, so this is the one that I purchased, this is the one that I own. I do not own a full bottle of the original DELINA because it was not for me. I'll come to that a little bit more later on in the video. So the original, no, not the original, the DELINA Exclusive, the one that I actually own myself, it has quite a lot of similarities to the original DELINA, but it's very, very different, you guys. To me, this one is like really, really different, and I much prefer this one. This is just my own personal taste, and again I'll come to that later with the mood boards. But this one, basically, you still have that brightness, but it's not in the same way. This is overall creamier, so it's still bright, although it does not have rhubarb. That is like one of the main separations. There are other major differences as well, but one of the main differences between the two is the fact that this does not have rhubarb. This has lychee, I think it has pear, it does still have fruits, so it is still very much what I would consider to be a bright, like somewhat fruity fragrance initially because of the top notes. But the main body of this fragrance is not light and fruity and sharp like the original DELINA. This is powdery. The original DELINA to me is not powdery at all. That one is very like a dewy, youthful, bubbly, fizzy rose and rhubarb fragrance. This one is completely different. So this is a little bit powdery. This has vanilla. This has quite a prominent note of vanilla in it actually, which gives it that creaminess. There is a really light, so there's woods in here. I think actually in the base notes it's like oud kind of notes, but it's not like oudy at all. It's like the tiniest touch of it just to give it like a woody base basically, that complements the vanilla and gives it overall a rounder, softer feel. DELINA Exclusive is more rounded, it's smoother, creamier, woodier, while also still being quite effervescent, bright and rosy. That's one of the main reasons I love this, because it does it all in my opinion. This one is bright, it's kind of slightly fruity, but it's a more voluptuous rose, if you know what I mean. This is a slightly more mature fragrance. The vanilla is definitely way more prominent in this one, and it has a thicker texture, it's a bit heavier actually. Still very rosy, but it's got more layers to it. This one is deeper, richer, as I say, more mature. I think basically, to sum up these two fragrances, I think DELINA is like the younger sister, like the carefree, like maybe even slightly naive, like just kind of very youthful, bubbly, kind of giggly, like girly, all of those kind of things. DELINA Exclusive to me gives a feeling of like more like maturity, so this would be the older sister, who is maybe a little bit more worldly wise or something like that, more elegant, kind of a bit more, just to me this one has more class. This DELINA Exclusive is more mature, it's kind of more sophisticated. Well actually, to be fair, they are both classy, but I think DELINA Exclusive is more sophisticated. Rosy, powdery, thick, creamy, very, there are no harsh edges in this one whatsoever, whereas in the original DELINA there was a slight sharpness from the rhubarb. This has no, DELINA Exclusive has no sharp edges whatsoever. Like I say, it's very round, very diffused, but it has a very strong presence. Both of these fragrances have amazing longevity and projection, like for sure. These are kind of one of the strongest fragrances ever. Like, this one is a compliment getter. I've had compliments on my DELINA Exclusive when I've kind of been out, and from quite a distance as well. So like the person who gave me a compliment was actually quite far away from me and they were still able to smell it. So and I think probably the same could be said for the original DELINA. They're both very strong, they're both probably what you would consider compliment getters, but this one is just creamier, more powdery, more mature, less, it's not bright, bubbly and sharp like the original one. This one is heavier, deeper, more mature, doesn't have that like sharp surface layer, if you know what I mean. So I could continue to like analyse them both and we would be here for ages, so I'm gonna end that part there. What I'll move on to now is my mood board idea. So what I did is I grouped together two separate groups of fragrance, and the idea is sort of if you feel more drawn to one group over the other, then that might give you an indication as to which fragrance might be more for you. This is by no means foolproof, of course. This is just me trying to give you as accurate a guide as I possibly can. So my first group of fragrances, which I feel are in a similar vein to DELINA, they're not dupes, they're not super similar, like they're not similar, but they give a similar vibe to the original DELINA. So I'm just going to go through those fragrances. So first up I have She Is Mine, which is a dupe for Yves Saint Laurent Mon Paris, which is a very fruity floral. It has notes of strawberry, it's very bright, bubbly, carefree, you know, a very sweet, juicy, fruity floral. So La Rive She is mine. Next up is La Nuit Tresor, the Eau de Toilette. So again, very, very fruity, quite light-hearted, quite fun, very, very girly, very youthful in my opinion. Gives a very kind of carefree, fun, girly vibe. So La Nuit Tresor Eau de Toilette. Next up in this group is Jean Paul Gaultier La Belle. I don't own a full bottle of this one. I have like a sample of it though. This one is very, very strong, very, very sweet and juicy, has prominent notes of vetiver, pear, and it has like a slight sharpness to it as well. This one is very sparkling, very, very strong, very sweet, fruity. Next up in this list is my La Petite Robe Noire, the original. So again, youthful, sweet, kind of a cherry fragrance. This one is just, again, sweet, rosy, cherry, has like a tea note in here, giving it a slight airiness and a slight tang, I think. Very fun, very sweet, very, very girly, beautiful fragrance. So Guerlain La Petite Robe Noire, the original pink one. And last up in my DELINA like mood board is the original Chloe. Now this one actually is the one that I think is the most similar. This one actually to me smells kind of similar to DELINA. This one also has lychee. This has a strong lychee top note, which gives it a kind of bright fruitiness and a slight sharpness. This is kind of a sharp, bright fragrance in the same way that DELINA is a sharp and bright fragrance. This one is sweet and it has rose and peony. I'm pretty sure DELINA has rose and peony in it as well. So it is actually fairly similar. So if you love, like seriously, if you love the original Chloe Eau de Parfum, then I think it's safe to say that you would like the original DELINA. If you're familiar with like many of these fragrances and you love them, like you know that that is the type of fragrance that you love, like a bright, cheerful, youthful, bubbly, fruity floral and like rosiness, if you love that, then I think it's safe to say you would also enjoy DELINA. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my other mood board, and these are fragrances which I think, you know, if you love them, then I think you would love DELINA Exclusive. And then, you know, after you've seen both, you could maybe have a think about like which group of fragrances you're actually most drawn to, and then maybe that would help you decide. Okay, so my next mood board, the perfumes in this mood board is Kenzo Flower Elixir, very powdery, sweet, gourmand, seductive kind of fragrance. We have Mon Guerlain Intense, a beautiful lavender, aromatic and vanilla rich, intoxicating fragrance, very elegant and sophisticated. We have Black Opium Intense. The original Black Opium could also apply to this mood board actually, but Black Opium Intense. Oh my goodness, wait until I drop all of these. We have Hugo Boss The Scent Private Accord. Beautiful kind of gourmand, like slightly powdery cocoa kind of fragrance and coffee fragrance. Next up we have La Nuit Tresor à la Folie, very rich, beautiful vanilla fragrance with red berries, quite different to the original La Nuit Tresor. So this one is gorgeous. So this one. Next up we have Narciso Poudrée, beautiful powdery musky fragrance, very clean and beautiful. So Narciso Poudrée. And also, what's this one called? La Vie Belle Intensement. So their latest release from the La Vie Belle line, this one has like the raspberry note in it, so this one as well. So these fragrances are in my DELINA Exclusive mood board. So if you love several from this list, then I think there's a good chance that you will like DELINA Exclusive. And what I'll do maybe is I'll put the names up on the screen of the two groups and then just kind of think about which group of fragrances you're most drawn to, like which mood, if you know what I mean. Because what I've tried to do here is I've grouped together fragrances that evoke a similar emotion to either DELINA Exclusive or DELINA. And hopefully that would help you. This is just to act as like a guide basically, like if you already are very familiar with these fragrances, maybe it would help you like decide which one. One little thing as well actually, if you are a fan of Victor & Rolf Flower Bomb, then I think there's a good chance that you would enjoy both Delina and Delina Exclusive. So yeah, Flower Bomb, if you're a huge fan of Flower Bomb, I think there might be like a safe-ish bet for either Delina Exclusive or Delina. So yeah, I really hope that you found this video helpful. I know it's sometimes hard to sample things, but like if you can sample them, I definitely would. Like, blind buying is all fun and games and things, but when it comes to fragrances that are like this expensive, it's kind of like it could go wrong, if you know what I mean. Definitely the Delina Exclusive is more for me, but again, that one isn't for everyone, because I've heard like certain reviews really not liking that one. So some people, like some negatives that I've read about Delina Exclusive is that I've read that people have described it as smelling really old-fashioned and nothing special. Like, I've heard people describe it in that way. Of course I don't agree with that. I think it's beautiful, but it's totally subjective. That's the thing. Like, you know, it's completely subjective, but to me my favorite is definitely the Delina Exclusive. I will not be purchasing the original Delina, but I know many people love the original Delina and don't like Delina Exclusive. So like, I really hope this has been helpful. I know how hard it is to decide. It's such a dilemma, but I would definitely say, like, just to really quickly sum up, like, if you are the type of person who in general is more drawn to bright, lighter, fruity florals, then I would say you might like the original Delina a bit more. But if you in general go for more like powdery, richer, like richer fragrances like the ones that I showed you in the Delina Exclusive mood board, then you would perhaps enjoy Delina Exclusive a bit more. But as I say, it's always best to try and sample it if you can. And I really hope this was helpful. Leave a comment down below, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you on the next one. Take care, guys. Bye.